Hey, what's up everybody? BroTrio here, and we're doing yet another Zelda 35 video for August in 2021.
Only a few left, y'all. We're gonna make it.
Yeah, we got this.
It's still no official word from Nintendo other than the Zelda Game & Watch, which I did pre-order because it looked amazing. It's 3 games in 1, but still, no official Zelda 35, so we're doing something a little bit special for this one. And it's not really top 10 list, it's not a ranking or a hype train or anything, it's just, it's its own thing. Like David Pumpkins.
David S. Pumpkins. Any questions?
This video is, we are taking the best item from every Zelda game and giving it its moment in the spotlight, but we have a few caveats. So 1, only the mainline Zelda games. So unfortunately, like Triforce Heroes and Four Swords Adventures, Tingle's Rupee Island, whatever the hell it is, those won't be included because it's 1 item per item. So you won't see 2 bombs, you won't see 2 boomerangs. If there's a boomerang listed in the first Zelda, it's never listed again. That's not the first Zelda, but you get what I'm saying.
And 2, we never really played them that much.
And they are all repeat items. The only one that has a standout that isn't already on this list is Triforce Heroes. You get Mario's fire gloves, where you just throw a fireball and makes Mario noise, and that's the whole thing. So, not really original, so we'll give it a quick little shout out right here. But we're getting on to it with Zelda 1. Take it away, Aaron.
Alright, now, the first Zelda really set the standard for what we had to expect. Because you had an overworld, you have an underworld, and you get items gradually as you play to explore both. Sometimes it becomes something that makes things a lot easier, sometimes it just makes things more convenient. And I really wanted to do the latter because that's the only game that gives you a ladder.
Yeah.
But the bombs are definitely what makes that game, because once you get the bombs, the whole game changes.
Yeah,
just like,
everything is different once you have bombs.
I'm gonna go back into all of the old dungeons and look for cracked walls. Like, there might be stuff that I missed completely that I didn't even know was there.
Not to mention, with the exception of remote bombs, bombs pretty much started out at like top tier perfection. They haven't really changed.
Yeah, you can duct tape them to some arrows and all that.
Yeah, you get bomb arrows, water bombs, stuff like that. But the straight up bomb is always the best one, except for niche, like, specific circumstances.
Moving on to Zelda 2. This was a hard one because I am the only one of the Bro Trio that has played and beat Zelda 2. I did not care for it. It's okay, but
I've tried it once or twice, but I never got very far into it.
Zelda 2 is very odd because it's all about like side-scrolling action. So there's not really any items. All the items you get are for the overworld, basically, and it's really just like, hey, this rock's blocking your path. Go to this temple, get a hammer, break the rock. Okay, now move on to the next temple. So it got a little iffy there. I was gonna pick some spells, but the one thing when I was looking that really jogged my memory, and I remember it being awesome, was the handy glove. Because not only is it an actual factual item that you find in the temple, you can't use it, it's passive, but it increases your strength, so your sword can now stab rocks and break them, and it makes you stronger.
Flesh-colored Zelda 2 sword. Why is that sword made of skin?
But in a game that's all about action, where Link has a vast array of attack options with his sword and shield, getting more strength in that game was amazing item to get, and that is why the handy glove is what I'm talking about for Zelda 2.
A Link to the Past is another game that we had a hard time deciding which item to use, because that game just has all the best items. And I was tempted to do the Zora flippers because it takes away the biggest hindrance of the overworld, because you don't drown anymore.
Yeah, but that's great. Boring.
It's boring.
I was gonna go with Bombos Medallion because it's awesome, but like, you don't really need it.
Yeah, I was gonna say the invincibility cane, whatever it is.
Oh yeah, that one's cool too.
Another cool one, but it's not like useful that often, except for like the fire cave and stuff like that.
Yeah, so we ended up picking the Pegasus boots because they're freaking awesome.
Same as Zelda 1. As soon as you get them, the game is changed.
Yeah.
It's fast.
You don't have to walk anymore ever. And you're attacking while you're running too.
Yeah.
So it's not only a attack bonus, but it's also a traversal bonus. Because you can just keep going. If I'm remembering right, you keep going between screens, so you can just go in a straight line if you don't run into a tree
or stop.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're chopping up the grass, you're killing everything in your path, and most importantly, you're having a lot more fun than you were just walking.
Now, Link's Awakening also had the Pegasus boots, but obviously, one item per list. So we can't say that again.
Man, speaking of though, those need to show up in a 3D Zelda.
God,
For
that
real.
would be so cool. But the main item from Link's Awakening that I want to talk about is the Rock's Feather, because it has only shown up in the Game Boy Zeldas, and it is a game changer every time it's there. Link can now jump on command, which is awesome. He didn't really get his ability to jump until the Rock's Feather, and then he still didn't have it until 3D, and then it was automatic whenever you rock towards the edge of something.
Now, if you've only played the remake, you may not understand this, but back then you had to equip your shield in the Game Boy one. Once I got Rock's Feather, that was my constant secondary item.
Yeah.
It was never shield again for the secondary item.
There's no point in blocking someone. You can just jump
Leap
over it.
over that thing and
It's
you got it
amazing.
going.
Not to mention, we talked about the Pegasus boots earlier because they're amazing. And going back to the coupling items thing, Link's Awakening knew that we would love this combination. You can couple the Rock's Feather with the Pegasus boots and go from jumping one spot to jumping like 4 spots. It's absolutely amazing. You build up momentum, you just launch yourself across a big-ass gap.
Ocarina of Time made it a relatively easy choice compared to some of these other ones, what item to pick, because the Hookshot came in and made everything more badass. Because, it was cool in the older games, but it is so much cooler in a 3D space, in my opinion.
Is.
You just shoot this little hook, it stabs into a surface, and the chain pulls you toward it. It's simple, effective, incredible. I absolutely loved the Hookshot, and the introduction to it in Ocarina of Time, in my opinion, is still the best it's ever been. We almost gave Twilight Princess the double claw shots,
Yeah.
but they were so brief in that game. That's one of the last dungeons. Hookshot you get pretty much, before the first dungeon, you have a lot
As
of
an
time.
adult.
Yeah, as an adult. Sorry. You have a lot of time with it. It's amazing, and it, like we said with bombs and with Pegasus boots, it completely changes the way you interact with the world, and that's what makes a great item to us.
Since Majora's Mask shares a lot in common with Ocarina, we wanted to pick something unique to that game. And we settled on the Goron Mask because first of all, it's probably the best mask.
Yes.
And
It's
second of all, like we said about Pegasus boots, traversal. You just roll up into a ball, turn into a wheel, and just go wherever you want to go.
You turn into Wheel, Kirby, and you just go.
And then you build up momentum with magic and you burst out these big-ass spikes all of a sudden?
Yeah.
Thank God the Gorons weren't doing that in Ocarina of Time rolling around Goron City. They would have killed you. Having the spiky Goron rolling around was absolutely incredible. You're rolling over bushes, getting the items all in one fell roll.
It led to the coolest boss fight in that game.
Coolest boss fight in the game. Coolest way to get around the
Racing
world.
the robot lightning goat.
And on top of everything else, you actually get to play as a Goron.
Yeah, that's what everybody's wanted since we've seen them.
Someone call the police because Nintendo has committed a crime by only having the magnet gloves in one game. If they're in one of the 4 swords or whatever, I don't know. But there's only one mainline game with the magnet gloves. One of the coolest items of all time. You pull stuff to you, you pull yourself to stuff. It's amazing. It doesn't sound that sexy with the way I just put it, but oh my god, they were so cool. They had positive and negative polarities depending on where you needed to go, and magnets are cool to every kid and adult ever. Magnets are great, and you put them on a glove and you can change polarities. That's like electromagnet weird shit. It's so cool. You can attract, repel, everything. Pull steel balls to you, throw it at stuff. The magnet gloves were the one of the coolest concepts for an item, I think, in the Zelda series. And like magnesis was cool, but it wasn't the magnet gloves.
What's your favorite hobby?
Magnets.
Okay, what, like making magnets, collecting magnets,
Playing with magnets? Just magnets.
I'm gonna put snowboarding.
Moving on from seasons to ages. Ages got a little harder to pick an item from because originally I was really liking the switch hook because it's the hook shot, but instead of hooking and shotting something, you hook it and switch spots.
Kind of like almost mixed
like
with the portal gun or something.
Yeah, it was
like,
very weird. Like,
It makes for some really interesting puzzles.
yes, but ultimately, I gave it to one item that makes for interesting puzzles and interesting ass kicking with the seed shooter because now real quick, seeds are a big deal in the Oracle games. You get Ember seeds, you get Mystery seeds, you get Tornado seeds, and
Pegasus seeds.
Stink seeds.
Yeah,
Pegasus seeds.
there's a lot of seeds.
There's a lot of seeds. And up until this point, you can toss them like a centimeter in front of you, and then you get a slingshot. But the seed shooter takes it to a whole other level because the slingshot can shoot them in 4 directions. Seed shooter, you can do diagonals, shoot it in all 8 directions. It's incredible. Certain seeds you can bounce off of surfaces, so you're shooting at an angle, and it's banking off that, going into one of the switches for the blocks and stuff. Seed shooter is absolutely amazing.
Imagine that with like an analog stick if they ever remake these.
Oh,
It'd
yeah.
be so much more. It would be like
I
so
would
easy.
absolutely love for the seed shooter to come back because it was really cool. And being able to shoot a super spicy seed at enemies that instantly catches them on fire with the ember seeds is a game changer. It's like the fire rod, but not a fire rod. Now we've gotten to the Wind Waker, and it's my favorite topic to talk about because it's my all-time favorite game. And the Wind Waker has some amazing items, but one that I feel has never done it better than Wind Waker is the bow and arrow. It's a classic Zelda item, but Wind Waker does it a little bit differently than all the other 3D Zeldas do. Because Wind Waker 1, it's kind of easier to aim because Link's got his little finger pointed anytime he's using the bow and arrows. You can kind of tell where you're aiming a little bit better. A lot better than Ocarina of Time. But then it gets to a whole other level once you get to this island and you play with this little fairy girl and she gives you fire and ice arrows. Because now you can cycle through. You have normal arrows. You click the shoulder button. You have a fire arrow. You click the shoulder button. You have an ice arrow.
Yeah, you don't have to go into the menu. And I like the charge noise from Ocarina of Time. And then it's fire arrow. But you can't shoulder cycle between them.
Yeah, that makes it so much easier. You don't have to put the pause menu on, get used to it all the time in Wind Waker. But another thing that sets it apart is that it is not only one of the best arrows have ever been in Zelda. You have the easy cycling of arrows, but it's one of the only Zelda games where you actually get to use the light arrows for a little bit outside of boss battles because you get them, it just vaporize Phantom Ganon, and then you gotta climb up Ganon's tower. There's still a little bit left, and there's Dark Knight. You blast him with that, he instantly vaporizes too. It's awesome. It's not very long, but it's a little bit, and it's very fun to do.
I feel like Minish Cap is an underrated gem. It feels like no one ever talks about it. But it's incredible. It's one of the better 2D Zelda games in my opinion, and the item we chose for this was very unique until Skyward Sword copied it, which was the Gust Jar. We almost went with Rock's Cape, but the Gust Jar is just a little sexier than a Big Jump. So we went with the Gust Jar. You can suck in stuff, you can shoot out stuff. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound that sexy, it's just a vacuum. But my god, it's so fun to use, and it's got a little charging noise when it's doing it. It's great.
Yeah, you can catapult yourself. You can
you use it to
other enemies as ammo.
Yeah,
Like
sucking up those stretchy mushrooms is something that never got old to me in Minish Cap. Plus, I believe it might not be the first one, but it's early on in the game that you get it. I think it might be the first dungeon item you get.
Yeah, because you gotta
Use it
suck
to
the little feet off of the
shred
choo-choo.
that choo-choo to death. and then he topples over, you slice him in the face, and then you use the gust jar and do it all over again.
Twilight Princess brought in one of my favorite weapons and my favorite items, the ball and chain. You could use it in so many different ways, because you could, of course, spin it around like a badass and just kill everything around you, but you could also carry it around in front of you and use it kind of like a shield. You could test out for bomb spots and destroyable parts of the environment with it, and you didn't have to waste a bomb.
It's the only one on the list that made it for sheer badassery, I think.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Because it's really, like, there's a few uses in the overworld, I'm sure, but it's primarily used for the dungeon that it was put in. And that was a big problem with Twilight Princess, is not using the items effectively outside of their dungeon. But with the ball and chain, I didn't even care. I barely use the sword anymore when I get that thing.
Up to that point, one of the most common enemies you come across that's like a big scary enemy is the ball and chain soldier. Now I'm the ball and chain soldier, and it was awesome.
We have gone a long time on this list without mentioning one of the staple Zelda items, the Boomerang. But Phantom Hourglass did the Boomerang in a more innovative and fun way than I think any other Zelda game has. Because you could just draw its path. It was so cool. It was the coolest part of those games. Was
something that no other Zelda can do, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just draw the path that you're setting your Boomerang on. It made for some very interesting puzzles. It was amazing. I wish it had a little bit of a more basic Boomerang function like we're used to also, but it didn't really matter because drawing the path was the coolest thing in a Phantom Hourglass besides marking on your map. It was amazing. Phantom Hourglass is not my favorite Zelda, but I would have liked it significantly less if it weren't for the Boomerang.
Spirit Tracks has the unfortunate circumstance of following Phantom Hourglass, because, again, Boomerang is probably the best item in that game because of the drawing feature. And they got a little more innovative puzzles with it and stuff like that, but for the Spirit Tracks item, I'm going to go ahead and give it to the whip, because it's the first time Link ever got a whip.
One of only two, I believe.
And it's a snake.
It just clomps on down there, and you swing on stuff.
It's more of like mixing two items. Like, you obviously have the whip aspect of it, but it also works like Spirit Tracks grappling hook from Wind Waker, where you can use it to latch onto stuff, swing across gaps. I think you might be able to steal items from enemies too. That might be Wind Waker sneaking in. But
the only way they could have made it better is if it talked to you.
Yeah, if it was an actual live
That's
snake,
your companion is the whip instead of whatever your companion is in that game.
It should have been Chancellor Cole somehow put Alfonso's soul into that snake whip, and you have Ghost Zelda and Snake Alfonso on the journey with you. That would have been the best.
There are a few things about Skyward Sword that bugged me, but one of them is not the beetle. Because, wow, my God, was the beetle fun. It was a scout at first and could cut stuff a little bit here and there, and it was really fun to operate. One of the few things that I was like, hell yeah, motion controls are great in Skyward Sword. Because it's like swimming. Why do I got a motion control swimming? What the f? But the beetle was always fun. It was cool looking, it was well designed, and as you upgraded it, it changed aesthetically. It would get little pincers, and it turned red.
Oh, I noticed this time, I just played through Skyward Sword HD, it gets a different feature every time you upgrade it. Like, it starts out basic, cutting item, like strings and stuff.
And
then you upgrade it to the Hook Beetle, it can now pick stuff up. Then you upgrade it to the Speed Beetle, it gets extra wings and goes faster, like you can do a speed up function now. And then it upgrades to like the Stamina Beetle, so it has more stamina, so it can stay out longer. It was really interesting to see that every upgrade had one special thing for the beetle.
Yet again, I wish Fee did not, lost her body and had to possess the beetle. That would have been real cool. Like, she just, almost got killed and was like, I need a vessel, and got in the beetle. And then you got your companion right there. No, Groose is the beetle. That's what happens. Groose is the beetle, and Fee's still the sword. Boom. Let us write for you, Zelda team.
Similar to Majora's Mask, A Link Between Worlds had a kind of weird thing where, since it's a sequel, you have a lot of the same items coming in. One of the coolest items that we came across was the Sand Rod. It really changed things up. You could make your own platforms, walk across it. they would collapse down. You could make walls, but most importantly, you can bring up a column, turn into a painting, and use it to get around.
Yep, an item using the central mechanic of that game to great effect. Oh my god.
Yeah.
You have reached perfection. And then you upgrade it, and it's very nice.
You upgrade it, and it did like 3 blocks of sand.
I think so.
And then you upgrade it with that squid putting it in his mouth and spitting it out, and then it just does a whole block across the screen.
Forward until it stops, and then you have that awesome boss fight where you have to use it.
Yeah, with that weird-ass worm.
Yeah.
That thing was cool. And then, obviously, like Scotty said, using the game mechanic to splat your hieroglyphic self on the side and walk across it made for some really inventive puzzles. And damn it, it has me really itching to get my 3DS out and play Link Between Worlds again. But before I do that, I am going to talk about Breath of the Wild, because Breath of the Wild is another odd one where it's kind of hard to pick the items because you don't get much in it. You get the Sheikah Slate. We put that on our top 10 items video for our Zelda items, and we didn't want to do that this time because
that was a little bit of a cheat
we
when
felt
we did that.
a little dirty doing that.
That's
And then,
the best item in the freaking series, man. Like, it's so versatile.
Yeah, it's a Swiss Army magic knife.
Yeah, and then we were thinking about the runes, and obviously, the camera rune is the best. But we had to give it to the Master Cycle Zero because, one, it is a little bit of a caveat being DLC, but my god, once you get it,
it's
holy
a physical,
shit.
It's a physical, actual thing. You just summon it. It's not an energy construct like the rest of the Sheikah Slate.
Right. And it's not a ghost power like Rivali's Gale or Daruk's Protection or anything. It's an actual, factual horse motorcycle that you can still feed apples to.
It's Link's Divine Beast. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
It is way faster than a horse. You have it all the time, anytime, whenever you're ready. Like,
Popping wheelies.
You can do, I was going to say, you can do tricks with it.
Just put a bunch of wood in there if you run out of gas.
You can refuel it with any material. The more valuable the material is, the more fuel you get. So you could put like one ancient core in there, or you could fill it with like 18 apples.
I couldn't resist picking up food. Yeah, I couldn't resist picking up every apple I saw. So I had like 999 apples. I don't care. Have all the apples you want, motorcycle horse.
Stuff it full of screws and bokoblin guts, and you're off in a flash.
Now
like that, Master Cycle Zero is so much fun. You can jump off of it just like a horse and do your arrow and freeze it time and stuff like that, bullet time.
Horse God won't get mad at you if you get it killed either, because you can't. Now, if only Robbie would have had his spirit taken out and he's in the horse now.
Oh, well, yeah, obviously.
We go back with that theme. Robbie's the horse motorcycle.
Anytime you summon it, it's Robbie's little guitar riff that plays. The Master Cycle Zero was one of the best times I had in Breath of the Wild. It was a massive, just end game item to get. It was huge. It doesn't really serve a purpose. It's just awesome, and that's why we like it, because it doesn't need to serve a purpose as long as it's fun. And these are all super fun Zelda items, and we think all these games did that one specific item the best. So that's gonna be our video. I hope y'all enjoyed it. We really are still loving this year of Zelda.
This was a fun list.
Very fun. We're having a lot of fun and challenge coming up with new Zelda lists every month. So if you have any ideas, let us know, because we have pretty much the rest of the year figured out. But if we see something better, we're going to do it. Because, I mean, we don't have to just scrap the ideas that don't make it into this year. We can do them some other time, because we love Zelda and we love talking. That being said, we want to give a special shout out to one of our Patreons, Z-Man, who has contributed to us on Patreon and helped the channel grow just a little bit more. If anyone wants to do that, we are always welcoming it, because you don't have to donate, but just to like and subscribe helps the channel out immediately, like just so much more. And sharing is also great too. All the YouTube stuff is great, but anything to help the channel grow, to help us.
If you didn't like it, hit that thumbs down. That's still interaction, baby. We good.
Yeah, I mean,
but that's
you can't please everybody.
Yeah, criticism is important. Don't worry about it. You ain't gonna hurt my feelings.
Hope you like this video. Hope you interact, and hope you like the Bro Trio, because we'll be back next month with another Zelda one. Also, really quick before we go, I just want to take a minute to point out, we know we've been gone for practically a month. E3 was a lot, and then we had a lot of just stuff happen. Aaron had to be
a lot of family stuff.
Surgery,
I had sinus surgery, so I was out for a week.
Yeah, he's sitting there bleeding all over the place. We didn't want to film with that.
Like, we can still film. I'll just bleed during it. We're like, Aaron, no, not doing that. So, if you're wondering where the Bro Trio's been, that's where we've been. We're going to try to get a little more,
consistent.
Consistent, that's the word, with our videos. So, stay tuned.